Welcome to our in-depth mindset question. And so first of all, let's look at discovering how you doing the work will make you an industry leader and a sought after coach. So essentially, you're going to take ownership of the work you do, and you're going to do the work that's going to contribute to the shifting and the growth of your industry. Because what happens as we dive deep into doing our own work, we are going to have a growth mindset. And that means we're not staying fixed in who we are or who we think we need to be, but we're going to continually have that transformative experience within ourselves. And as we grow, other people get inspired. It's like honey to bees. They just want to come and attract because you've got that growth mindset. So it's really forming that growth mindset within you. I talked about that in one of our other in-depth mindset questions, which you can go and explore that if you're inside of the Maximum Growth Academy. So what's also going to happen as you do the work and you apply the work, you're going to essentially be learning how to problem solve. So you have your own problem and you're wanting to tackle that problem. And so then you look at what's the best question that you can ask, what's the best if you're applying the Demartini method, which column are you going to focus on, and what's going to give you the greatest outcome. And then also what we talk about in a lot of our maximum growth classes is what's the problem underneath the problem. Like someone might come to you and they say, I've got a headache. And they say, well, let's work on the headache, but they've got a nail stuck in their head. And so really it's the nail that you want to focus on, the problem underneath the problem. It's also going to help you as you do the work. You can share some of that work with your community, with the people around you, and that shows you you're leading by example. So especially because if we get someone who has financial issues, for example, and you're struggling so much with your own financial issues, there can be an element of incongruence then when you're trying to help someone solve a problem that you have. And so it can help then as you grow and you solve and you find more order in the problems that you've previously had. When someone comes to you, you've got certainty inside of you, certainty that then gets projected onto them to say, I also know that you can do this. I've done this, you can also do this. And so that's something that also happens. And then what also shifts as we start to do the work on ourselves is we become very results driven. So instead of problem focused, which can happen sometimes, we then focus really on what's the result and doing the work to get the result. And so that gets us inspired, and also helps maybe in the sales process when we're working with people who want to come and join to do the work with us. And so it helps us then be an industry leader because we know that we're results focused, and that's essentially why someone will come to you in the first place, is because they want a result that they know that you can offer them. So why is then doing the work as a coach important to you and your client's success? So I talked about this last time, is stagnant growth in one of our other in-depth mindset questions. Is this stagnant growth that can happen, this like plateau that happens when we stop doing the work. And so what we want to be able to do is just as we continue to grow through and grow our results, it's also going to have a ripple effect into our clients. Because you imagine that this is what I believe, and whether you believe this or not, that's completely up to you. And if it isn't, just disregard it. But if it is, hopefully it's helpful. And that is that when we are coaching, we create a connection with our clients. That's definitely for sure. And so there becomes like an invisible bond between the two of you. And so as we grow ourselves, your clients also get to like ride off the coattails of your growth and grow with you. Because if not, imagine you stay here and then your clients are growing. What happens? They outgrow you. So that's why growing and evolving, and then them growing and evolving either with you or with you along on the journey, that's going to help not only your growth and success, but also theirs as well. So we want to kind of continue to grow ourselves and to continue to do the work, because that's going to help indirectly or directly help our clients. What's also going to happen is we're going to role model, because essentially sometimes like I was working with someone today, and the first thing they handed me their ball of mess, and there's a lot going on. And so then if we can role model some of the behavior that's really important, which is doing the work on maybe a more regular basis, that can make a big difference in their own internal state of being. And we get to role model, show them and demonstrate how to do it, because sometimes they've just had a wobble and forgotten. And so it's just giving them that inspiration and confidence that they can also do it themselves. The reason also why we want to be doing the work as a coach is, and this can happen, not saying it happens to everyone, but sometimes it can happen, is that if we take on people's stuff, because sometimes that happens, and we get really tough cases, and we're also not doing our internal work with the issues that show up in a client session, and we've got our own baggage that we're also working through as well, we can actually find ourselves in a position as a coach with burnout. Because like, I just can't take on any more problems. I'm dealing with my own stuff. I don't have time or room and space to now then go and deal with someone else's stuff as well. And so that helps to mitigate that dynamic, maybe curb the idea or potential burnout that might be happening or might be potentially happening in the future, and also getting you shifting and working through some of the emotional dynamics that build up. And so it doesn't have to be this big challenge or big build-up of all the emotional charges that you have, and you're just slowly working through them step by step by step. So that can also be a really big key in why doing the work is so helpful. The thing that I really want to explore with you, which is what we're all leading to, is this all or none dynamic that we have around doing the work. It's almost like projected on, or it's like an unseen dynamic, which is, well, in order to be a coach, you have to be always doing the work. It's this all or none dynamic. And what happens is when we get into this state, we can find ourselves then having external pressure that we've placed upon ourselves to be living and looking in a particular way, like we've got our stuff together. And then anytime we waver outside of that, there can be this element of fear of failure. What are people going to think of me? I'm not living up to the ideal of who I should be. I know I definitely went through this period of time in 2015, where I felt like there was these public and private dynamic or split in my personality or my way of living and my way of life, that internally I was really struggling, but I felt like I couldn't share that with the outside world, and there was this like incongruence between who I was showing up as and who I internally was being. And so the result of that is this idea, maybe you can relate to this sometimes, of like an imposter syndrome, because you know that you feel like there's an element of being a fraud. Like, you're saying all of these things and telling people to do this, but internally you're like struggling to find an answer. You're struggling to find a resolution for your own stuff. And so when we project and have all or none labels on us doing the work, that's actually the very thing that hinders us. Because you know what? If I go back to, of all my 15 years of doing the work so far, that period of time, 2015, when I wasn't doing the work and I was struggling to do the work, it's actually where I learned the most. I actually was almost like the phoenix rising, burning myself to the ground to be able to rise again. I felt like that rising really allowed me to kind of integrate a lot of the work into my everyday being. And so, and then I decided, instead of having this concept of all or none, like I have to do the work every day, it's become more of a lived experience. So I'll do the work sometimes, I'll allow some charges to build up sometimes, I'll sit down and do a line a week sometimes, and other times I'll sit down and do multiple lines in one weekend. And so I'm allowing more flexibility, because that's what we want. If we get too rigid to say that it's got to be, I've got to do it every single day, then we're too rigid in that, and that's actually going to be causing us pain. So we want to have more of a flexibility and adaptability to doing the work. And so the result then also of doing the work is, when you have a community around you and you're doing the work together, that definitely lights my fire up. We had some inspiring, we did our New Year's transformation just recently, and so our session last night, and we had some amazing insights and realizations when you come in and do the work together. Because one is the energy that you have when you're doing the work with other people. It's very different to where you're doing it on your own, because they give you some insights and realizations that maybe you hadn't thought of before. They say a word that triggers something inside of you, and like, wow, or opens your heart because you're so charged about something. And then the result of other people doing the work, they kind of help you to open your heart and start being more open and receptive to working through your stuff. So I definitely, if you haven't already joined in our Maximum Growth classes and our community, I highly recommend. We do some amazing work together as a group, and we do the work every single week throughout the entire year. So you don't have to do the work every single day. You can just come in every single week and do the work with the community. So I'll drop a link inside of this post for you. This post is only up for 7 days. So we do highly recommend that you do watch it. We'll also give you an opportunity. If you're inside of the membership, it's going to be there for the lifetime of your membership, so you get access to it all the time. If you've loved this class, love to comment what your greatest learning insight has been below. If you are interested in joining our Maximum Growth membership, then please also jump online, check out our membership. We have 3 levels. You can either jump on just the mindset level if you want and have a coaching business and want to really get your service out to the world and do more aligned business, then business is for you. And if you're interested in just like, let's do all of it, let's do mindset, let's do business, and you want to grow as a skill set as a coach, then Coaches is for you. Those places are limited, so you'll have to be on our waiting list to jump into that level of the membership. But in the meantime, jump into business, and that will give you everything that you need until a space becomes available in Coaches. So hopefully you found this helpful and inspiring, insightful for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments.